Today, we're diving into a topic that's, well, a little heavy. Crime is a global issue that takes different forms depending on where you are. In some countries, violence and criminal activity have reached catastrophic levels, creating environments of fear, instability, and hardship for millions. Today, we'll take a closer look at the top 10 most dangerous countries in the world. Using data on homicide rates, gang activity, domestic violence, sexual assaults, theft, and other criminal behaviors, we'll uncover the reasons why these nations face such extreme challenges. Please subscribe to our channel to help us in continuing to make this content and comment below what you would like to see next. Get ready for a sobering yet important exploration of the world's most dangerous places. Remember to watch number 1 as its events will leave you shocked. Number 10, we have Brazil. Brazil is as dangerous as it is beautiful. With a homicide rate of 22.5 per 100,000 people, it records over 47,000 murders annually. Much of the violence stems from drug-related conflicts in the favelas, where gangs like the Comando Vermelho dominate. These gang wars frequently spill into urban areas, endangering civilians. Sexual violence is another grim issue, with over 66,000 rapes reported yearly, though the actual numbers may be much higher. Domestic violence is also widespread, affecting nearly 30% of women. In addition to violent crime, armed robberies and burglaries are frequent in cities like Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo. Number 9. Next, we travel to South Africa. South Africa's breathtaking scenery masks its high crime rate. The murder rate is 36 per 100,000 people, and gang-related violence is rampant in cities like Cape Town, where groups like the 28S fight for territory. Many impoverished neighborhoods are controlled by gangs, leaving residents in constant fear. Gender-based violence in South Africa is at crisis levels, with more than 150 rape cases reported daily. Nearly half of all women experience domestic violence, a statistic that reflects the country's broader struggles with inequality and crime. Armed robberies, carjackings, and theft are also common, particularly in urban areas. Number 8. Our next stop takes us to Mexico. Mexico's drug cartels make it one of the most dangerous countries in the Western Hemisphere. With a murder rate of 29 per 100,000 people, over 35,000 homicides occur annually, most linked to brutal gang violence. Cartels like the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel terrorize regions, battling for control over the drug trade and trafficking routes. Kidnappings are another pressing issue, with thousands of cases reported every year, while femicide remains an alarming problem. In 2022 alone, more than 3,700 women were murdered, often with little justice due to corruption and weak law enforcement. Number 7. Our next destination is Venezuela. Venezuela's political and economic collapse has made it a hub for crime. With a murder rate of 36.7 per 100,000 people, violence is endemic. Gangs like Tren de Aragua operate freely, committing extortion, kidnappings, and killings. Many citizens are forced to pay protection money just to survive. The economic crisis has led to widespread poverty, driving increases in theft, robbery, and looting. Women are particularly vulnerable, facing high rates of sexual violence and exploitation. With a collapsing justice system, perpetrators act with near total impunity. Number 6. Our journey takes us deep into the heart of Africa, the Central African Republic. The Central African Republic is ravaged by armed conflict. The murder rate is 29 per 100,000, but actual violence is likely much higher due to limited reporting. Armed militias terrorize civilians, committing mass killings, kidnappings, and sexual violence as tools of war. Villages are frequently looted, and humanitarian aid is often stolen by militias. Women and children face the greatest dangers, with rampant sexual exploitation in conflict zones. A lack of functioning law enforcement means victims rarely see justice. Number 5. Next, we are headed to Somalia. Somalia is a dangerous blend of terrorism and lawlessness. Al-Shabaab, a terrorist group, conducts bombings, kidnappings, and assassinations, leaving civilians in constant danger. Piracy along the Somali coast remains a threat, with cargo ships often hijacked for ransom. Women in refugee camps face horrific sexual violence, while human trafficking thrives in the absence of a central government. Armed robberies and clan violence are also widespread, making life unpredictable and perilous for millions of Somalis. Number 4, we're heading to Yemen, a country teetering on the brink of collapse. Yemen's civil war has created an unlivable situation for its citizens. Bombings, gunfire, and terrorist attacks are everyday occurrences, with groups like Al-Qaeda and the Houthis fueling the conflict. For years, Yemen has been ravaged by a brutal civil war, fueled by regional powers and internal divisions. The result is a humanitarian catastrophe of epic proportions. Civilians are often abducted for ransom or political leverage. Sexual violence has surged during the conflict, while hunger and poverty drive theft and looting. Yemen's humanitarian crisis leaves millions vulnerable to violence with no end to the war in sight. This is the heartbreaking reality in Yemen today. Number 3, we're venturing into the volatile world of Honduras. Honduras has one of the highest murder rates in the world at 38 per 100,000 people. Gangs like MS-13 and Barrio 18 terrorize communities with extortion, brutal killings, and drug trafficking. Public executions are common for those who defy gang control. Women in Honduras are particularly at risk, with over 300 femicides reported annually. Armed robberies and carjackings also plague urban centers like Tegucigalpa, and corruption within law enforcement hampers efforts to combat crime. In number 2, prepare for a journey into the heart of darkness as we explore Afghanistan. Afghanistan remains one of the most dangerous countries following the Taliban's return to power in 2021. Suicide bombings, terrorist attacks, and kidnappings by groups like ISIS-K and the Taliban are frequent. These conflicts have devastated civilian populations, with little protection from law enforcement. Women face harsh oppression under Taliban rule, including forced marriages and public punishments. Poverty fuels petty crimes like theft, while corruption and instability prevent meaningful reform. Afghanistan's future remains bleak as violence and terror dominate daily life. Number 1. Our final destination takes us to Haiti. Haiti is currently the most dangerous country in the world, overrun by violent gangs like the G9 family. These groups control large swaths of Port-au-Prince, engaging in kidnappings, murders, and extortion. In 2022 alone, over 1,000 kidnappings were reported, with gangs holding victims for ransom in lawless territories. Sexual violence is rampant, particularly in gang-controlled areas. Armed robberies and home invasions have become a daily reality for many Haitians, as the government struggles to function. With violence spiraling out of control, Haiti faces an uncertain and dangerous future. That was a lot to process, right? But remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand the realities of these dangerous places, the better equipped we are to make a difference. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the problems facing these countries, but even small actions can have a ripple effect. So, educate yourselves, donate to reputable charities, and speak out against injustice. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more informative content. Stay safe and informed.